We've been able to trace the first few hours of Trev Jackson's getaway from a shopping center parking lot to a backyard to this apartment, which apparently he got to by stealing a teenager's bike. Ron, as we speak, police are behind us here on South George Street trying to figure out who shot a teenager in the face. When you look in the parking lot here at the Crossroads Shopping Center, you can see where the shell casings landed, and now we are getting a sense of how they got there. And a warning, this video is jarring. There's also evidence Jackson was hiding in this gazebo, because if he were to sit in this chair, on the left side where his hand was bleeding, there are blood stains. So it's possible he sat here and looked out and watched as the police drove around. And for the record, my shopping and shipping is finished already this year, but usually I would be making that last-minute trip here to the post office. This is the trench where the contractor was working, digging to make way for a new gas line when he ruptured the current line and natural gas filled the air. This just happened a couple of minutes ago, Kim. You can see police are still trying to block off part of the street here. This is Hall Manor in Harrisburg. I don't mean to make you either hungry or jealous, but I'm afraid that both will happen, because here we are in the middle of 36 different kinds of homemade sticky buns, and I get the opportunity to try a little bit of everything.
Today, new evidence just released as police search for one of the most wanted men in York County, a man who they say tried to shoot an officer in the head, an incident that was caught on tape. News 8's Matt Barcaro has learned what happened after the dash cam video stopped.
We didn't even know that the shooting happened.
And so Karen Schuler never imagined that the man wanted for shooting at a police officer was hiding for hours in her shed.
But this was hanging wide open like that. And then the officer was still dark, so he started shining his flashlight around, and then that's when he seen the blood right there.
Police say the blood dripped from Trev Jackson's left hand. He was shot by the officer who he tried to shoot after getting pulled over at a traffic stop.
It's kind of scary. It's like, why our yard?
News 8 has learned that after Jackson ditched his car near Schuler's backyard, he tried waiting out the night there. There's also evidence Jackson was hiding in this gazebo, because if he were to sit in this chair, on the left side where his hand was bleeding, there are blood stains. So it's possible he sat here and looked out and watched as the police drove around. Ultimately, police say Jackson stole a bike from Schuler's shed and pedaled it 3 miles to an apartment in York. Inside, a woman bandaged up Jackson's hand. He changed out of his bloody clothes, left the bike, and disappeared.
They need to find him. He don't need to be out there running around with a gun in his hand.
In York, Matt Barcaro, News 8. In the Hall of Presidents Museum in Gettysburg, you'll find statues of all 43 men.
I can hear it now.
But the talk inside today was not about the presidents who are here.
I was a little upset about it, to tell you the truth.
But instead about the one president.
Who would do that?
Who just disappeared.
I mean, who steals a statue of Abraham Lincoln?
I think that they probably stood up here and worked it and pushed it.
Over the weekend, someone ripped the statue of President Lincoln from the entrance of the museum, ditched the pedestal in the parking lot, and bolted with the bust.
Shame. We've had thousands of visitors that have come and taken pictures with the bust of Abraham Lincoln. Would be sad if it was gone forever.
The statue of Lincoln stood across from this one of President Eisenhower, both one-of-a-kind pieces from an artist who passed away years ago. But the museum hopes the statue is not history.
Hopefully, maybe with all the publicity, they'll return it.
He is known as Honest Abe, after all. Maybe that will weigh heavily on whoever lifted Lincoln. In Gettysburg, Matt Barcaro, News 8. Not only are they distracting, they are dangerous. Lasers aimed at National Guard helicopter pilots in training. The reflection can be so bright that it can cause permanent eye damage and shut off night vision goggles, essentially blinding the pilot.
An absolute safety concern.
Colonel Robert Allison oversees pilot training at Fort Indiantown Gap, where he says just since October, lasers were shined at 2 helicopters while in the air.
It puts the crew in danger, it puts the passengers in danger, and if an aircraft comes out of the sky, what are we hitting?
And it's not just military pilots that are getting targeted. Commercial pilots and HIA have reported laser strikes, as have pilots for the medical Lifeline helicopters. Data from the Federal Aviation Administration obtained by News 8 shows lasers also reported at the Lancaster Airport. And as of last month, a total of nearly 200 laser strikes on aircraft in Pennsylvania.
It adds to a little bit of chaos in the cockpit.
It's also considered a federal crime, and one pilot's hope gets snuffed out. At Fort Indiantown Gap, Matt Barcaro, News 8.
This This is WGAL8, the Susquehanna Valley's news leader. Now, coverage you can count on continues. This is WGAL News 8 Today.
Breaking overnight, the Pentagon has released the names of the 12 Marines missing after their helicopters crashed in Hawaii, and one is from the Susquehanna Valley. New information released on last night's shooting in Lancaster, why police are saying it was not a random attack. And the search continues this morning for a suspect in a deadly stabbing in Lancaster County. Good morning, I'm Matt Barcaro. Those stories are coming up, but first, meteorologist Matt Moore is here with a look at the cold forecast.
Yeah, it will get cold as we go into tonight, that's for sure. But in the meantime, we may actually see some flurries and a couple of snow showers later on today. In fact, we're already starting to see in just a few minutes. Matt, back to you.
All right, thanks, Matt. We begin this morning with breaking news. The U.S. Marine Corps has identified the 12 Marines missing after 2 helicopters crashed off Hawaii Thursday night, and one of them is from the Susquehanna Valley. 25-year-old Sergeant Adam Scholler of Gardner's Adams County was on one of the helicopters involved in the crash. Officials say rough waters are making the search for the Marines more difficult. Investigators are still not sure why the helicopters went down. We have new information this morning on last night's shooting in Lancaster as well. Police say a 24-year-old Lancaster Township man was shot twice in a home on West Strawberry Street. Police say the victim and shooter know each other. The victim was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and the shooter got away. Anyone with information is asked to call police. And we have new information in last night's deadly car accident in Pequay Township, Lancaster County. Look at this video. Police say a 33-year-old Pequay man died when he collided head-on with another car on Millersville Road. The driver of the other vehicle had to be cut from his car. That man was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Police are not releasing the names of either of the drivers until the families have been notified. Right now, a manhunt is underway for a suspect in a deadly stabbing in Columbia, Lancaster County. Police say the victim was able to tell them who stabbed him. News 8's Ed Weinstock reports. In Adams County, 9 people are out of their homes after their apartments caught fire. Emergency dispatchers say the fire was in a commercial building on Burford Avenue. Apartments are on the top floors of that building and businesses are below. 6 adults and 3 children had to get out of the burning building. They're now being helped by the Red Cross. No one was hurt in the fire and the cause has been ruled accidental. Breaking news this morning out of Iran. The 5 Americans being held captive in Iran are now out of the country. The former prisoners include a Washington Post reporter, a minister, a former Marine, and a student. In exchange for their freedom, the U.S. agreed to drop charges against 7 Iranians imprisoned here.
Seems like a dream. It's something we've been hoping for and praying for.
It's spectacular news. We're just so happy. Can't wait to see him.
At least 2 Americans are still believed to be either held captive or missing in Iran. 2 people were killed after a line of strong storms moved through central Florida overnight. Damage consistent with a tornado is being assessed in some parts. Storms are forecast to push off the East Coast this morning, but dangerous waters will remain. The latest on this weekend's deadly attack in Burkina Faso, West Africa. We now know an American missionary was among at least 28 people killed in the attack. His wife posted on Facebook that Mike Reddering was apparently inside a restaurant during the attack that also targeted an upscale hotel. Al-Qaeda has claimed responsibility. Dozens of people were hurt in the attack. Burkina Faso's president said security forces killed 4 of the attackers and freed more than 100 people. Making national news this morning, President Barack Obama signed an emergency declaration yesterday providing federal aid for Flint, Michigan, which is undergoing a water crisis. The executive order allows the Federal Emergency Management Agency to provide water, filters, and other supplies for 90 days. Flint can also get up to $5 million in federal aid. The city has been in a crisis since lead was discovered in residents' tap water.
So we can finally start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, and we will continue to stay positive. We have to stick together, and that way we can continue to move Flint forward.
An investigation has been launched into what caused that contamination. All right, we had to break now, but here is a look at last night's winning lottery numbers. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're going to talk some more about this state budget mess with our News 8 political analyst, Dr. Terry Madonna. So to set things up, the governor thought he had the votes.
Correct.
Lawmakers come in on a weekend.
That's right.
And the vote fails. So what happened?
Yeah. Well, let's set the stage this way also. You have two things that we're doing with the budget and then a pension reform bill. Two things. In theory, they don't have to be related. You follow me? Think about this. A majority of Republicans say, nope. We're not going to vote for it.
And by not passing the pension bill, the whole budget collapses.
Great point, and you're exactly right.
So where does that leave us?
They're linked together. Well, I mean, unless they can work something out with pensions, the House is likely to do something with what we call a stop. And the governor has already vetoed one. And you used the right word, mess.
Well, sure, and a lot of people at home, I got to be scratching their head that this is continuing. This is almost 6 months at the end of the month, and you were telling me earlier that this would be historic. This is going to be historic.
That's right. As of this Wednesday, if the budget is not adopted, we will reach the longest period of time without a budget in modern times, because it's not going to be fun for a lot of schools and a lot of human services if they don't get this done, given the fact that they're not getting the resources necessary to fund these programs.
And we've seen a lot of deadlines come and go, so we will see
another great point.
What happens by the end of the year. All right, thanks, Terry Madonna.